Hi everybody, it's Cindy at Upcycle Design Lab. For this week's video, I'm going to be continuing on with my Trashy Valentine decorations from my Trashy Valentine House Tour. And if you missed that video, you can see the highlight reel in the corner up here. For today's project, I'm going to be doing a little bit of a grade school throwback, at least back to my grade school days, when we used to make pictures using Elmer's glue and tissue paper squares. But because we're upcycling here, I'll be using a hot glue gun and some plastic bags. To start this project, you need to know what shape you're going to use. So I'm going to use a glass for a couple of round shapes. I've already cut out the bigger end of the glass, just tracing around that. And now I want to do a smaller version. So I'm going to trace around the bottom of this glass. And then I just need to cut it out. So those are going to be our two bases. And then the other thing I want to do before I get too far into this project, because the glue needs time to dry, is I'm going to make a couple of little hangers out of pop tabs, pull tabs. And I like to use just a little bit of cardstock weight paper, so you can use any old cracker box or whatever you can find. And you don't have to do this step, but I think it makes it a little more stable. So I like to cut a little circle shape to put inside the bottom of the pull tab, and that just holds it a little more secure. So I'm gonna put a little E6000 glue on there. Just put my cardboard right in there, and then it needs about 24 hours to dry. Alright, so I'm going to start with my bigger circle, and you're going to need some plastic bags. And this is a plastic bag that I've removed the print from. If you're interested in knowing how to do that, I'll put a link in the corner above on 3 ways to prep plastic bags for crafting. But basically this is just ready to cut into little squares, which I've already done. So I have a lot of squares here. They're about 2 inches square. And the only other thing you need is some hot glue and a pencil with a nice kind of new eraser on it, or a flat end anyway. And I'm just going to start in the middle of my piece with a tiny bit of glue. And I'm just going to keep working from the outside, or the inside to the outside edge. And because I'm working with hot glue, I am making sure that I wrap the plastic bag square around my pencil before I put the hot glue down, so it doesn't have time to cool off. So once the cardboard is completely full, you're ready to put the little hook on the back. So I'm using a thumbtack to attach the pull tab that I made into a hook, and then I'm also just securing it with some E6000 glue. So I also have some red plastic. I had an old plastic tablecloth that my cats have kind of clawed up. You can actually see some of the claw marks in this. It had some pretty big holes in it, so I decided I could use it for crafting. And so I'm going to use the smaller one to make a red ball. And then I've played around with some different shapes. So I also made this heart, and it just has one, some red around the edge. Just something to keep in mind. Obviously you can see it gets a lot bigger, so your shape is going to turn out much bigger than the cardboard that you start with. Some of that depends on how big the squares you cut, but you don't want to cut them too small because you need to be able to handle them. So the last thing I'm going to do, just to make some hangers to string these from, is I have cut some strips of the red tablecloth, and you can see that I haven't done a very nice job of cutting it, so I'm not really too worried about it. But what I'm going to do is I've got 3 strands, and I'm just going to tie off the end, and then I'm going to make a little braid cording to hang the decorations from. Basically, I'm just going to take the 3 strands, and I'm going to have one in the middle and cross over, and then I'm going to take the one on the opposite edge and cross over the middle again. And so I'm always working from side to side, just crossing over the middle strand. So you can see that once the pieces are braided together, they make a sturdier strand, and the fact that they aren't cut very smoothly is disguised by the braid. So I used this technique for a couple of different projects. I made a silly big puffy white frame, and then I also made the heart and the little puff balls to decorate my mantle. So that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and checking out my blog at www.upcycledesignlab.com.